Who would have thought this would have come to be? Hours on end trying to beat the labyrinth zone in the first game. Tears of rage and eventual joy. Casino stage, which was my favourite zone in Sonic 2, and then the debug mode, which I had so much fun with. Happy days. Hello ladies and gentlemen of all ages from 6 years and above. Welcome to the TFX reviews portion of the channel, and here we are talking about the movie adaptation of one of the most beloved retro gaming characters out there, Sonic the Hedgehog. Finally getting his own movie since he raced onto our Sega Genesis or Mega Drive 29 years ago. It's kind of hard to believe it's taken this long for Hollywood to consider that this could make a profitable market within the industry. So after acquiring the rights to the product from Sony in 2017, Paramount set about putting first-time director Jeff Fowler into the driving seat, who had previously worked as a visual effects artist. So a lot was riding on this project. Luckily, the hard work has paid off, but it hasn't come without some roadblocks. No pun intended, and pretty major ones at that, to be honest. One of which, the biggest one, sparked a huge outcry within the fan base. Strangely enough, though, the producers actually listened. So, for those of you people out there watching this that don't know about said controversy, here's a little sneak peek. Yeah, kind of a horror show, isn't it? But like I said, the studios listened because with that being said, after 2 viewings of the movie, I can finally say that we have a pretty decent video game adaptation that could potentially rival Paul Anderson's Mortal Kombat movie from 1995 as the best one yet. But that being said, with the way that the video game adaptations have gone in recent years, there's not much competition there, is there? Maybe a push the more recent Tomb Raider with Alicia Vikander. The movie's biggest human stars are James Marsden of the Bryan Singer X-Men movies and legendary goofball Jim Carrey, who really needs no introduction. They carry the movie well with regards to its narrative, obviously, which I'll come to shortly, but it's Ben Schwartz's voice acting as Sonic which gives the film its heart and soul. But surely out of respect, though, all credit has to go to Jim here, as he has an absolute blast as Dr. Robotnik, and deservedly so. He isn't quite as on form as I would have liked, but he does have to be the antagonist at the end of the day, so finding the balance of how absurd you can actually be is a little tricky for this type of a family film, even for the likes of Jim. Now, this may be a contradiction to what I said in my Birds of Prey review, but just hear me out here, everyone. This is a kids' movie, like I said, in comparison to Harley Quinn. Jim could have easily made his performance a lot more childlike if you wanted to, which for the kid would be awesome, but you still have to make your villain clear for said child to believe that intentions are evil at best. Jim understood this, and I think he did a really good job in balancing the load as an evil proprietor. James Marsden was also a good choice for lead human character Tom Wachowski. In my opinion, he's always had a good charisma in a majority of the roles that he's been in, even though the last movie that I saw him in a lead role was the 2011 remake of Straw Dogs, which was a very disappointing movie. I have seen him crop up in other small roles, such as Jack in Anchorman 2 and Quince in Michael Bay's Two Guns. However, he is a talented actor that deserves to be in bigger roles. I did like him as David Sumner in Straw Dogs, but the movie for me was just a letdown. But moving on, he carries Tom Wachowski here in Sonic as a very likeable and charming police sheriff of Green Hills Town who stumbles across Sonic, who is in a bit of a predicament. The chemistry between the two is very sweet, which some would say is pretty obvious, but due to the overall story, but it really gives the movie its charm. So coming into the plot of the movie, like I was going to earlier, Sonic is an alien who comes to Earth in hiding because creatures on its home world, which by the way looks just like the original Green Hills stage of the first game, are looking to kill him, and Dr. Robotnik, who is a weapons specialist for the military, finds that Sonic has the key to perfecting his latest line of weapons tech. And that's all I'm really going to cover about the initial story. That's all I'm really going to cover with regards to the movie's story there. I don't want to give too much away in case you haven't seen it, but it's not really the original source material from the game's origin story. I'll leave a link in the description box below for you to follow if you're interested in looking up on that. And it is official. It is an official origin story. But for a movie like this, which is set on Earth, it does work to a degree, even though I and a lot of others would have much preferred it to have been set within the game's universe. But Jeff's direction is good for a first time attempt. It flows nicely and doesn't take itself too seriously. And like I said earlier, it has heart, which for a character such as Sonic, it's warranted and has been made for a family audience. Your children will have a lot of fun with it. And even though it does have its silly moments, so will the adults, especially those who grew up playing the game. There are some scenes in the movie that borrow from others, which is something we just have to get used to in this day and age. Much to my disappointment, it's something that I'm not really all that keen on. But for once, this time round, it actually works for the film and hasn't just been thrown in there just because it's something that looked cool. And as far as the visuals go, to a degree, I'm actually quite impressed with what they've achieved. The good thing that came out of this was how Jeff and the production team handled the controversy surrounding Sonic's initial design, if I have to be honest. And I don't blame the fans for complaining. I mean, this really is the thing of nightmares, and even me, who is quite open to doing things a little differently, I was just thinking, what the hell, what the design team were thinking, I really don't know. But give them the dues. Back to the drawing board they went. I can really honestly see Jeff going on to bigger and better things for what he's done here with regards to the handling of the problem they had. Nobody else would have bothered with the funding to correct it, if I have to be honest. I think some of the larger companies, say Disney for example, more than likely would have just left it as is and just went on with the release. Now personally, I thought maybe they could have gone for, I wouldn't say a more realistic look, but they could have toned down a little bit on the saturation and contrast on Sonic himself to make him a little bit more believable than maybe he was in the film. But that's just me nitpicking. I understand that he's a video game character and he needs to look a certain way, but you need to think along the basis that it's a CG character that's been added into a real life scene and not an element from a 6-year-old's animation series. I'm not saying that that's what he actually looks like. I just think he's a little bit, his colour palette could have done with just being a little more darker to sort of suit the surroundings. But if they do go down the line of making a sequel, I would like to see a more defined version of him. But as a first attempt at face value, this is as good as you're going to get for the moment for an origins story on Sonic the Hedgehog. So overall, with all its Kerryisms and good cop, unorthodox cop endeavours, there's a little clue in there for something that comes up in the movie. It's a surprising yet palatable watch given its extended production time. It manages to hold its place on the video game adaptation wall of fame as a movie that will hit the spot on countless rewatches with the family. Sonic the Hedgehog, for me, gets an 8.5 out of 10.
I have no idea.
Okay everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this video, and if you're new to the channel and you've made it this far, I salute you for doing so. Yes, I've had an absolute blast putting this video together. It's been a great experience. Sonic was one of my most played games when I was younger. I had pretty much nearly all of the formats of it on the Genesis, Mega Drive, whichever one you call it, whether you're from Europe or America. I had the Mega CD version of it as well, Sonic 3D, and I pretty much had all of them on the, like I said, on the Genesis Mega CD formats, and it was an absolute blast. I've loved putting this video together, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So if you have, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe as well if you like. I don't mind if you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. But I would like to hear what your thoughts are on the movie and what you thought of the review as well. More importantly, let me know what you think of the review, if I can improve on my format in any other way. So like I say, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. I'm going to head off now. So this is me, TREKFLIX, signing off.